Fellow Nomanauts, welcome to the LZ. Good to see you, and welcome to the very first LZ subcast for No Man's Sky. And guys, we don't have a whole heck of a lot going on while we wait for the inevitable drop, the nuclear bomb that is No Man's Sky Beyond. Scott says No Man's Sky is the best community. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right, it is. So, with that said, I want to talk about a couple of items tonight. If you saw my tweets earlier, I've got kind of a few subjects that I kind of want to go over. Before we get started off with the conversation, I first want to drop a link in the chat just for you. If you are not in the LZ Discord already and you want to join into the conversation, pop a click on that link right there. Jump into the Landing Zone podcast waiting room. And then we will start sort of systematically pulling people into that. And we're going to go from there, right? So first things first, let's jump into some subjects and kind of talk a little bit of No Man's Sky news. And here's the weird thing. Like, I know that we are sort of light on the No Man's Sky information and news, right? And I can see the No Man's Sky community kind of getting a little on edge. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the edginess in the No Man's Sky community? I can feel it. And you know what? We're a little antsy, and that's fine. That's totally cool. So I kind of want to talk about that. I want to talk about what we know about No Man's Sky Beyond and how it's pretty close. And as far as news goes, let's talk about everything that we know. We don't want to really talk about anything that's anecdotal, but let's go with what information we know. And at the end of it all, I just want you all to know that it is summertime. It is summertime. And that's that, right? What else is there to say other than we were told summer? Summer is here, right? And summer could probably go for another month and a half before we know it, right? Do we have to wait until, like, the first leaf falls from the tree? Probably not. Probably not. But, to say the least, that could happen, right? So, first things first, let's talk about what we know before we start jumping into grabbing people into the calls. First things, if you, again, I'm going to pop it into the chat for you. Jump into the LZ Discord. Jump into the Landing Zone waiting room. I see Mr. Snow Obsidian's already there. And then at some point, we'll start pulling people out of the waiting room and into the private chat. And we'll talk it out. I'd like to have a few people on tonight. I want to hear your voices. And let's start talking about this stuff. Let's start talking about this stuff. A few rules for the bus before we go. Any super chats or any donations to the Streamlabs down below, obviously will take priority. The conversation will stop, and we will make sure that those are read for you. Thank you so much for the support in advance for anybody who contributes to the LZ. You have no idea how much that helps us here. Keeps food in the mouths of yours truly and the other 3 members of his family. And then, of course, thank you to those who have contributed already before. Somebody bought a T-shirt during the Convergence, and I don't know who that was. So if you're here, obviously, just let us know. Above me is a live chat going, so every time, because I plan on taking some of the subjects tonight, if they are fruitful enough, and moving them into separate uploads on the channel. So I want to immortalize your chats above, so do keep the conversation rolling so that those who are watching by the thousands, hopefully, in the re-uploads of these sections that I'm going to cut here eventually, will be able to see what you're saying as well. You're part of the No Man's Sky community. You're part of the LZ, and I think the hundreds or even thousands of people that see those videos deserve to know that. So, with that said, let's talk about everything we know about Beyond so far, right? We know it's summer. Here's what we are talking about so far, right? The game has been rated in Germany and Australia. Okay? A really cool revelation that came out this morning as I was talking to my man Peaceful Gamer on Twitter. The ESRB, now that's the German and Australian equivalent of the ratings board on American shores. They rated No Man's Sky next, at least they officially posted it, it was July 15th of last year. We got No Man's Sky next on the 24th. So it's about 9 days after. 9 days after. So here's what we know. Obviously, to me, going by what we know in the past, going by industry standards, going by everything that we know so far to be true, of just not just No Man's Sky and not just the sort of pattern of how these things go, but industry in general, No Man's Sky Beyond has to be finished, right? And so I'm not going to just anecdotally and arbitrarily throw that out there. I'm going to also say that they have our save files. And they asked for our saves files about a month ago. So they've had them and testing them. When they asked us for our save files last time, about a month later, we got next. And that standard has obviously not been met for Beyond. But then again, we've also got No Man's Sky Beyond to worry about. We've got whatever features a part of Component 3 to worry about within that. So testing must be more extensive at that point, right? So to go with that, it's been rated in 2 locations that we know of so far. Obviously, Beyond has to be done. That's my own conjecture, just going by what I know of the industry. And then, of course, we're waiting on the ESRB, right? When the ESRB, now, to give you a little bit of context, when it comes to the ESRB has actually spoiled reveals of actual games before. So what that tells me is that as soon as the ESRB is done, so Peaceful Gamer actually had, as a matter of fact, I'd like to put that stuff on screen for you, because that is important context. Let me grab that here. That is important context that I want everybody to see. This new Twitter layout is garbage. Anybody else get this? This new Twitter layout on not mobile, but on desktop. It's just bad. Like, I get it, but we're very much in the territory of fixing what ain't broken. I want to show you Peaceful Gamer's tweets to the ESRB. This was super monumental. So let me grab that on screen for you. So Peaceful Gamer talks to the ESRB saying, do re-releases get ratings reassigned or do previous ratings get applied? And the ESRB actually responded to him and said, depends upon the release. If the re-release has any material differences from content in the original release, it'll need to be submitted for a new rating. So our friends Southern Card and PG, they kept the conversation going. All right, I'm going to go straight for the jugular here. Of course, all of us asked us if they have rated Beyond yet. Naturally slow, because if we that's us in the No Man's Sky community, right? If we get a little bit of information, we're like piranha. The PG, he says, not sure that's going to work unless the ESRB Twitter person turns disgruntled. Hey, ESRB, my DMs are open, my dude. You can DM me anytime, and you can be as disgruntled as you like. So, but really, let's read that again one more time. Depends upon the re-release. If the re-release has any material differences from content in the original release, it'll need to be submitted for a new rating. The Xbox version of No Man's Sky had to get rated, obviously because it has not been released on Xbox prior to then, right? We are getting a re-release of No Man's Sky. That was said as much in the Beyond information release, is that the PS4 is going to get a new version. Now, this is for a couple of reasons, right? The No Man's Sky copies that are floating out there now do not have the PSVR ready or whatever logo or label that goes on No Man's Sky is rated LZ. I'm seeing your chat, even though I'm on my ramblings. No Man's Sky, or games that have a VR component, right? I own Ace Combat 7. I don't own VR, but it says that it's VR ready. Ace Combat 7 has like 6 separate missions within the game that are like VR capable. Like, it's not the whole game. So I think that Hello Games and, of course, Sony are partnering to get a re-release out there so that it's very specific to Sony's VR base. Hey, we want you to buy this game, and we want you to buy VR for it. Now, I look forward to Sony putting out a sort of a marketing campaign for VR because, let's be honest, and this is objectively speaking, there are not that many games on the market that are VR specific and a full-size VR game. Right, a lot of bite-size offerings, a lot of games that are not fully VR focused, but have a VR component to them, like Ace Combat 7, like I said, that has sort of 6 missions off to the side that are VR capable. No Man's Sky is one of the only games that I have heard of that the entire experience is VR capable, right? So Sony's going to want to go in on that. They're going to want to go all in on the VR aspect, which is funny because 3 years ago, Sony was ready to sort of kick No Man's Sky to the curb. But now that Hello Games are just like, hey, let's do VR, Sony's just like, hey, we love you again. Yeah. Oh, yes. And, yep, Skyrim and Resident Evil 7. Thank you, Eric. By the way, I want to give a shout-out to everybody that I see here. I see Chill Gunner. I see Devlin, Scott, Eric, my dude, Peaceful Gamer is in the chat. My man, Sword, new member of the Nominati. Everybody, congrats to Sword for the introduction to the Nominati. If you don't know who the Nominati is, you shouldn't. But Snow Obsidian, I see him waiting. Again, I'm going to pop it into the chat, everybody. If you would like to, please do jump in to the LZ Discord at that link. That link is working, right? Everybody, let me know if it's not working. It should. But I've got a Snow Obsidian in the waiting room. Click that link, join the LZ Discord, and then click the Landing Zone Podcast waiting room. And I'll be happy to drag you in at some point during the call. It's going to go for about another hour, hour and a half, depending on the conversation. So I'm going to let all the, and if you're, especially if you're happy and hyped for VR, I'm not particularly, because I don't think my brain can handle VR. I can see the headaches happening. I'm going to be drinking ibuprofen like it's alcohol. But the ESRB basically is saying if there is content on the disc that is different from the original release, that it has to be re-rated. So that's a guarantee that we're not only are we getting a new disc, we're getting probably a new edition, right? If Sony and Hello Games are going to want to go all in on VR with No Man's Sky, there's no way they're not going to want to do a pack-in of sorts, right? A VR bundle, a sort of way of, okay, if you buy VR, you get No Man's Sky for free, or you have a special edition VR unit. How cool would that be if No Man's Sky had or if PSVR had a No Man's Sky special edition with some decked out logos and decals on it. That'd be pretty cool. But I'm broke as a joke and probably wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. But I just don't see myself getting into it. But so we know that No Man's Sky has been classified in 2 regions, right? We know that it's going to be a VR heavy hitter. We know that eventually it's going to need a new ESRB rating, and that the ESRB rating comes fairly shortly before the actual release. And now this is anecdotal, this is grain of salt information, but our boy Thunder, a fellow creator in the No Man's Sky sphere of things, had said also that he knows somebody that works in Game. Game is sort of the GameStop equivalent overseas in Europe. I think it's particularly the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But he says that he knows for sure that they will probably be getting No Man's Sky physical copies for PS4 within the next week. That is anecdotal. That is not proven. Please take that with a grain of salt. But, I trust my fellow creators, at least for the reliable friends that they know. So that is what we've heard. And you know what? That sounds right? That could be what all the silence is about. Because here's the thing. Hello Games has to get their ducks in a row, right? The marketing pitch. It doesn't take a single night to create those beautiful patch notes lists that they usually come out with. I mean, they could be as lame as something like Call of Duty and just put out a bullet-pointed list of things. No, Hello Games goes out of their way to pretty up their patch notes list with pictures and transparency and animations and stuff like that. They're really quite overdoing it, which is what I really like about it, right? So, physical copies have got to be in print already, right? Now, remember that when a game goes gold, remember when No Man's Sky went to gold and we got that sort of iconic picture of Hello Games in their old studio holding up the golden disc, right? That was the source material, so to speak. That takes about 30 days, roughly, for that original disc with all of the extra stuff to ship, to print, to package, and to go to the various outlets, right? That's about 3 to 4 weeks for that to happen. So it might already be at print for all we know. We already know what the box art looks like, right? That was the big traveler close up to his face, right? We saw that already. So it takes a little bit of time for that to happen. It was the same for the Xbox release too, right? It takes a little bit of time for that to come about. So, folks, I know that the wait is excruciating. I know that it's tough. I know that some Twitter conversations have been difficult in my sort of observations of things. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's coming, right? You will look back upon all of this stress and all of this anxiety, and you will be able to see that this... Remember when they delayed No Man's Sky at launch? Remember that? And it was about, what? It was about 5 weeks, 6 weeks that they delayed the game. Remember how fast that went? Like, do you remember how weirdly fast that went? Like, suddenly here it is, right? It's here. The same thing's going to happen, right? And I've seen tempers flare and all kinds of craziness happen. And you know what? I think it's just... This is why I decided to do this subcast, right? Now, of course, I'm not Cobra TV. Cobra TV, the dad of the No Man's Sky community, right? But I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm running out of things to talk about for No Man's Sky. And just thinking about MZK a couple of weeks ago, I was like, what are you doing, you jerk? Make more content. As I'm starting to run out of subjects that I could sort of genuinely talk about, right? But then I'm thinking, like, I see the entire community in sort of this turmoil, just waiting for Sean and Hello Games to do their thing. Why don't we talk about that, right? Let's have like what was that comment I just saw? LZ sounds like a mental counselor. That's like literally the reason I wanted to do this, because I think that we should just all let it out, man. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we're playing in the meantime. Let's talk about what we know. Let's bullshit about things that are just not even of this, like, they don't even sound logical, right? And that's fine. This is a safe space to do that. Cobra TV's subcast is a safe space to do that. My channel, a safe space to do that, right? That's fine. That's totally fine. You're gonna have so much content, you're gonna have to quit your day job. Man, I wish. If y'all could, if clicks and donations to super chats and things like that could sustain me and my family more than $50K a year, I would happily do that. I would happily do that if we got the support for it. But man, it's hard out here being a small creator. So with that said, we talked about everything we know about Beyond. I can guarantee you that we are closer to launch than farther away from it, right? You know, we're in the back end. We're on the home stretch, right? Summer is going to wind down to a close at some point, but I sincerely think that we're not going to have to wait until the end of summer. However, let's have a little bit of fun before we start talking about getting people into the calls and working out conversation with that. I brought my Magic 8 Ball, everybody. This is actually my daughter's, and she left it on the desk. So let's ask it, shall we? Let's do some craziness. Let's talk about luck, right? Let's see what it says. Magic 8 Ball. Is No Man's Sky Beyond going to launch in the next 2 weeks? Here we go. Should we see what it says? Let me know, chat. Should we look? Or should we turn our heads? Do we worry? I'm going to laugh if I look at the answer and it says 16. Whatever that means. Here we go. It says, my sources say no. Oh my God, salt in the wound. My sources say no. What are your sources, 8 Ball? Oh my God. I don't know why I did that, but I thought about it earlier and I was like, let's do that. And well, I regret everything now. I regret it all. I regret it. So without further ado, here's what I would like to do. I would like to start getting some folks onto the call, and I would like to talk to all of you. I've got 2 waiting in the waiting room so far. Please do join into the LZ Discord. I'll pop a link in the chat for you. Click there, go, and then join the Landing Zone Podcast waiting room. And I'll be happy to drag you in as the conversations. Now, it probably won't be Cobra TV levels of craziness, because they'll have like 13 to 23 people in his calls, which is nutso. But I'm happy to see you all here. Why don't we'll go ahead and drag Snow Obsidian and Ivy Mike in. They are here. Let's bring them in. My man Snow Obsidian, I see you. Can you hear me?
I sure can, my friend.
Legacy,
Been a long
what's
time.
going on?
Let me fix this real quick. My voice, and there we go. Let's see. Yeti. Okay, how about now? Okay, there it is. I had your voice going there instead of here. Can everybody hear them? Please do show me in the chat if you can hear them. Can everybody hear Snow and Ivy Mike? You can hear them. Can you hear them well? I just want to double check. Let me know. You can't hear them well. Okay, I'm going to try to fix that right now. I'm going to try to fix that. User volume. And we'll work it out. I've never done one of these. So give it up, guys. Can you hear? They can't. Hang on. Give me just a second. And I'm going to try to fix this up. Can't hear them. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing that right now. Here's hoping. speakers. Okay, give it a go now.
What's up,
Snub
LZ
speaking.
chat?
I think we got it. I had to add another audio source.
Alright, coolio.
Wrong button.
That's become such a huge meme.
We good, everybody? How we
I'm good. Are
feeling?
you good?
Can we hear them? Do give me a sound check for everybody that's listening in so I can make sure. This is my first time compiling a call, so I want to make sure that we're good. Got him? Wout says yes. Heath, Scott, Chili Gunner, Peaceful Gamer, awesome. Thanks for the confirmations, everybody. Welcome to the LZ, everybody. And everybody, say hi to Ivy Mike. Say hi to Snow Obsidian. I got some words for Snow Obsidian here in a little bit, too. I want to congratulate him on his loss. I watched that live, as a matter of fact. I was chatting to the other creators at the time, and somebody finally took Snow Obsidian down during the Convergence. That's crazy. You were
Yep.
undefeated for, like, what? Since Atlas
Pretty
Rises?
Since next, because you couldn't actually hit anyone or hurt anyone in Atlas Rises.
Fair enough.
So
But yeah,
shortly after next.
you were. I'm gonna drag one more in here too while we're at it. Vargol, we'll get you in here as well.
right,
So I have a few topics that I want to talk about today. And I
Shoot.
listed them in our chat earlier. So I'm gonna bring those up now. First things first. Let me grab my window here. I might have to find it again. I got it, but yesterday I put up a poll. I had some interesting feelings, and I want to discuss this with everybody because I don't think I have ever asked a question of my community that was more divisive in its yes or no answers. And the question, as a matter of fact, give me a moment. I'm going to bring it up so everybody can see it. I posted it both on Twitter and on the community section on YouTube. And if you follow my channel regularly, you'll know that I do like to post daily or every other day in my sort of community, my community section. This question, it says, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Beyond was No Man's Sky's final update for current gen consoles, and then Hello Games spent the rest of this year and next year dressing up the game real nice for a next gen re-release on PlayStation 5, etc. On YouTube alone, it got 235 votes, and it is split down the middle. It's 50-50. People said, yes, let's focus on next gen. No, I need more now. And on Twitter, it got, I don't know how many votes it got on Twitter, but needless to say, the same reaction happened. So I want to get a conversation going between us on the call and also in our chat here, and let me know. Let's talk about what lies beyond. What happens beyond? Are they ready to hang it up? Are they ready? Is this it?
You know, LZ, I would love to know what % of the people were on PS4 and Xbox opposed to on PC. Because if you think about it, if you're on PC, you want it now because you're not, there is no next gen. So, obviously we're going to want the features now on PC.
So actually, and I like that you say that, and I didn't get really any evidence to how many of these folks were on consoles, on the separate consoles, but I did see a lot of folks who rightly responded that I am on PC, it doesn't matter to me. And which is an odd response to me because it's not like they couldn't take advantage of the new bells and whistles, probably for free. They probably wouldn't have to buy the game again, as is the custom usually on PC, that they wouldn't have to buy the game a separate time. So that's good that you point that out, but they were talking in an interview, Sean particularly in an interview, it said that they were ready to hang up their capes for No Man's Sky, so to speak, after Next was done. The overwhelming positive response of Next kept them going. How much steam does this game have left? How much more can we get out of this game before, as he says, they are unhappy with continuing to add to it? What else could we do to this at some point, knowing that we are on the eve of next gen and that No Man's Sky has been out for 3 years? What do you think?
So
It's going to come down to how much money people spend on Beyond and how many people buy the game new at that point. I mean, with Next, so many people bought it as a new game at that point that they said they had, AAA sales numbers with Next. So, if that happens again with Beyond and they get another, 1 million, 2 million people to buy the game new, why not just keep doing and making money that way?
Mm-hmm. And we know they're working on 2 separate games at least, aside from No Man's Sky. But if it continues to sell units, why would they stop?
So can I address something, Legacy?
Yeah, go right for it.
So there's a couple of things that, off the top of my head, that I've recognized with that statement. Number one, technically, I think what Hello Games is trying to do at this point is they're trying to evolve No Man's Sky to a point where the game can kind of stand on its own without the need for ongoing updates. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made. But there's also an outcry from the community that they're wanting more. They hunger for more in the game. And although I think that the game feels really kind of well-rounded now, I think people find themselves kind of redundant, a typical MMO, right? And which is another reason why I think Sean Murray made the comment that he did in an interview during one of the stage demos that he was participating in. And he said that the community is going to see very common elements typically found in an MMO. Trying to evolve the game to where it's persistent, and it keeps the community wanting to continuously play. There's going to be content in the game to keep the community coming back and continuously playing. With that being said, if they were going to release this on next gen, it would have to be like a No Man's Sky 2. And the reason, because PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5.
He might be coming in
will
and
be
out. Is he
totally
coming in and out for
compatible.
everybody else?
We lost Snow there.
Okay. Yeah, if he jumps back
Am
into
I-
the waiting room, I can grab him again. Sorry, we got
Am I-
most of what you said, but towards the end there, you were kind of coming in and out. I don't know. I don't know if it's my connection. I hope not, but
Okay. Am I still coming across okay now, though?
you sound good at the moment. Let me grab Mr.
Okay.
Snow Obsidian again. There we go.
So I don't remember where I ended off at. What you could last hear me say. Well, I think I was moving toward the new console, right? And what I was saying is that Hello Games would have to come out with a No Man's Sky 2, and the reason why I say that is because PS4 is not going to be compatible with PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 will always be compatible with PlayStation 4 games. It's just technology is always backwards compatible, right? Not moving forward. And so that would tell me that whatever kind of content that they're going to come out with, if they're going to keep their consumer base kind of tied into it, they're going to have to consider PlayStation 4 out with an all-new title to No Man's Sky. Does that make sense?
You bring up a really good point. As a matter of fact, in my poll, that was a pretty wide response, was that folks didn't wish to have the communities split. And as a matter of fact, having it's not necessary that they would have to split the community. I mean, we see remasters all the time. As a matter of fact, I think The Last of Us remastered. Y'all keep me. I know there was a PS3 game and PS4 game that were cross-compatible with each other, as far as sharing their player bases. Does anybody?
Last of Us was a multiplayer, was it?
It did have a multiplayer mode. It was wholly unremarkable. It was sort of tacked on. I know there's some folks that they definitely played it and played quite a bit of it, as a matter of fact. I couldn't get into it that much, but I couldn't remember. I could have swore there was a cross-gen game. Now, a next-gen version of a game doesn't necessarily have to mean that it would be so next-gen that it would have to split the community, right? It could
It would, Legacy, it would, if the content solely worked off of next-gen technology.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, is that the PlayStation 4 rendering the game because due to limited resources, then the place to contain that content, like an MMO.
Okay.
See a remaster of an MMO, for instance, they've never ever request, but they did come out with an.
Let me see if I can clean this up for him.
Too.
Hang on here.
Well, that felt.
Sorry about that. I want to see if I can try to clean this up for you because it's kind of starting to come in and out. All right, go for it again. Let me see what you think.
Okay. And that's why I said what I did was because in an MMO you're dealing with wide-scale community play, right? If you expand the game so much that older consoles can't play it, then they're excluded from the multiplayer community of people. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we don't want to risk splitting the community. So I think we've established that. I feel like that's consensus. Mr. Mike, were you about to go?
No, I mean, to add on to that, I think that we already have a split community with the different consoles at this time. So if they were just to rehash the game for PS5, I mean, obviously the multiplayer, if they did like you said an upgraded version for PS5, would it be compatible with PS4? This is the question.
Mm-hmm.
So. Whereas if they just continue to upgrade the current game and then the current game will run on PS5 and have optimizations. I mean, right now you have HDR on PS4 Pro and you do not have HDR on regular PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And just continue that type of visual upgrade possibly, but still have the same base game.
And it doesn't split the community, which is important.
Right. And especially, I mean, if we get crossplay, which is, it's a speculation at this point for Beyond with the online mode. If there is crossplay, then that's a whole different ball game we're talking about,
Mm-hmm. Crossplay, and that's a big one. Like, I really wonder because we're seeing a gigantic resurgence, or what's the word for not resurging but surging? A giant surge in games that are going to be cross-platform, cross-save, and I would even risk to say that if gamers sort of throw their angry fists up enough, maybe things like cross-buy, right? Now, of course, Nintendo, the PC was always in. It didn't really have much of a choice, right? But now we're talking about Xbox was all in, Nintendo was all in for games like that they share, right? You've got Rocket League, you've got Fortnite, right? These are features that were easy to turn on, right? According to multiple developers, all they had to do was flip the switch, and crossplay was enabled. So much so that they enabled it by accident on PS4 for Mr. Star Jumper. Hello, it's a Star Jumper. Everybody, say hello.
Hello.
The big thing is that it was easy for them to do. So if it's easy for a tiny studio like those that made Rocket League, for instance, right? It would more than likely be happy. They would probably happily do it at Hello Games. So is that a possibility? Knowing that we're 3 years in, Miss Natalie, good to see you. Is that a possibility for now for crossplay at least between the new platforms?
if they make online, if it's a new game mode where you join into online and it's server based and it's not based off of one person serving it, and they're able to limit what mods are loaded and things like that. Possibly if your console is just now tapping. NetSpots have joined together to use the same servers now. Sony has agreed to use Xbox Live servers for future generations, so they don't have the back end to deal with it like Microsoft does. So it'll be really curious to see. I mean, I would absolutely love to be able to play with my PS4 friends. It would be insane.
Well, I think the speculation is there too that Sony and Microsoft are already kind of collaborating a little bit, at least maybe behind the scenes. I think, and I don't know if it's popular to say, but I think that there is potential that Stadia would support No Man's Sky. I think in one of the interviews, Sean Murray thought that Stadia was very intriguing to him. And Stadia would pose a threat to Microsoft and Sony.
If it's on Stadia, we could play on our phones all day. It would be insane.
And you know what? I bet Google would be happy to be a threat to Sony and Microsoft. Just because they can. They have the money to do it, right?
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I just read an interview today from somebody interviewed some executives at Ubisoft, and they went on record saying that porting a game to Stadia was, quote, not that costly. So essentially, we're really just taking the game, moving it over to their infrastructure, which I would imagine is probably a PC, either a direct PC version of it or a PC portion of it. So if it already exists, I imagine it's probably pretty easy to do. But Hello Games, really since launch, has pretty much been rolling in dough. I mean, they sold at least 4 million copies on PS4 since Next, at least, going by what information they accidentally leaked. Also, everyone thinks Vulkan is for optimizations for VR, but all of the Google Stadia servers are running on AMD graphics cards. And that is optimized for Vulkan. So who knows what, we never. No, I don't know much about the tech. I know that if I'm a consumer looking at Stadia, I'm not happy with the offering, because it's too costly for something that I don't get to own and I don't get to hold in my hand, right? Their subscription model does not include the full games that I want, at least not all of them, right? And they had compared it to something a little more akin to PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold. Somebody said Stadia version is the third pillar. Jesus, I hope not.
No, I believe it's the third pillar is definitely content related, but I don't see why Hello Games wouldn't jump on that bandwagon. It's just another platform for them to continue to sell their product. And I mean, I agree with you. I think paying membership to rent games, I guess, in essence, I think that's what you're doing. Although I do believe that you have the opportunity to purchase AAA games that are being sold through Stadia. I mean, right now I buy all my games digitally through the PlayStation Store. I own very few disc copies.
Right. Yeah, we got some digital.
And then this is the free version of it. You can still play the games at 1080p. You pay for the game just like you do on Steam, and you play it wherever you want on your phone, on a computer. Yeah, it's only at 1080p, but who's really playing at 4K anyway?
That's true. Well, the people that are playing at 4K are the people that have the internet infrastructure to handle it, right? If you're running a measly 10 to 20 meg, or you're running DSL, you're probably just fine with the 1080 because it's probably all you could do. But somebody like me, who is on 1 gigabit fiber, right, I'm trying to get as much juice as possible. So I would love to try to run 4K. The issue is latency, right? With all of the Stadia hype, I need to be able to remind people that this has been done over and over and over, right? We had On Live. We had PS Now. We had whatever PS Now was before Sony bought it and made it PS Now. I can't remember the name of it. But there's been multiple cloud gaming solutions, and every single time I've tried it with hopes, it has failed on a fundamental gameplay level, especially for games that require reactive, twitchy gameplay, right? Like your Call of Duties and things like that, where there's that split 100-millisecond delay, which is enough to ruin your experience. Have any of us played that? Have any of us tried some of the cloud gaming solutions? You know, your PS Now, your Steam streaming and stuff like that within the home. What do we think of that? And do we think that it's viable now for Stadia?
I've done Steam streaming from one computer to another in my home network, and that's been pretty flawless. But to your point, this would never be for first-person shooters. But for a game like No Man's Sky, where you're not worried about hitting that headshot, well, not yet, hopefully,
Not yet.
But yeah, it's that you'll never notice the difference between 20 to 50 milliseconds. It's nothing, So
Absolutely. So before we move on to the next topic, because I like where that was going, I want to get into a couple of pretty important topics here. Probably the main reason why I thought a subcast for the LZ would be a good idea. I want to do a check-in because I've seen the chat is blowing up. We have 70 people in here, everybody, and that chat is moving. So let's get a check-in, everybody. Say hello in the chat. I see Starjumper, Devlin, Arsenal, Volt, Scott, John. Good to see you, John. Nice to see you. Natalie has graced us with her presence. Always good to have Natalie. Plo is here. Snow Obsidian, of course, is here in the chat with us. The reigning champ who was dethroned after so long. Wout's here. Kicky Foot. I hope that's Kicky Foot. Let's see. Yeah, there's quite a lot of chat going on here. So good to see y'all. Pound the like button while you're here if you're enjoying the experience. Thanks for supporting and hanging out. So
Why
another
did
subject.
2 people dislike the stream, really?
Oh, we only have 2? Oh. Oh, my heart. Oh, no, my heart. To be fair, we've only been going for an hour. But nonetheless, good to have everybody still. So next subject. I kind of want to segue into this. The wait for Beyond has been excruciating. It has created some drama. It's not exactly been pleasurable for the community. Reddit is not very comfortable a place at the moment, as far as the discourse goes. Now,
What comfortable place?
go for it. Sorry.
Said, when is Reddit ever a comfortable place?
I used to post my videos there quite a bit, and usually, now here's the weird part. I'll take an informative video like my 27 facts about VR, which I had a lot of fun sort of piecing together for folks. Hey, thanks, Big Shot. Thank you so much for the sub. I'll post an informative video and it'll get downvoted to hell. I'll post a meme and it will touch the very top of Reddit. Like, it's not exactly it's an okay place. I do get a lot of information, and usually if something happens outside of my sphere of view, like the Australian classification and the German classification, I got that information from Reddit, to their credit.
Fair enough.
But mainly, Twitter is my primary sphere of sort of discourse for No Man's Sky. Things have been a little uncomfortable as far as the sort of speculation and this sort of circular back and forth about should Sean say something, should Hello Games say something, and he kind of, if you're asking me, he kind of opened up that wound when he said, we're just not going to talk. You're just going to get it when you get it. That sat sour with some folks, and I sort of want to know how everybody's doing. Do we approve of these methods? And and why. And if you don't, that's cool too, right? Tell me why. Tell me what you're feeling about the wait for Beyond right now.
Well, this may come across as a little salty, but and maybe even unpopular, but I think Hello Game, by the pillars for 1 and 2, the multiplayer online and the VR, he kind of opened up that can of worms. But in all fairness, they're a development team, and they don't really. There's nowhere written. It's good PR, but there's nowhere written that they owe us any communication whatsoever. They really don't. And they're business. They're developing a game. It's not good that they don't communicate with their public or their consumer base, but there's nowhere written that it's law or it's required. You have to talk to us. Not only that, but as us consumers, we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know what kind of fires they're trying to put out. We don't know what kind of roadblocks they're coming across trying to get their new update launched. We just don't know how busy they are. And I know that Sean's done quite a few interviews over the last, 5 months? So all the travel time and the interviewing and then, trying to work out all the bugs and polish the update app and, implementing a new multiplayer online and VR alone was a big feat, right? So, if they don't give us any more information until the launch, I understand, and I'm okay with it. Does that bug me? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but that's only because I'm anxious to play the new game and I want to know what's coming,
You're pretty candid about that. That's a very good response, too, I think.
That's kind of, that's kind of where I stand, anyway. I can't speak for everybody, but it's kind of a bummer that the community gets so worked up over stuff like that. And I think that they probably feel the exact same way as I do. They want the information. They want to know what's coming. The anxiety is just building up, and I get it. But I don't know. The old cliche: best things come for those who wait. Right?
I'm really confused by the silence. We got so much so fast with Pillar 1 and 2. We got an experimental update. What 2 months now we've been? They did an experimental update. They patched it a week and a half after it came out. I was like, yes, we're going to be on the experimental every 2-3 weeks. We're going to be getting new updates with little tidbits of what's coming and further improvements. And then it just all stopped at once. And after the communication with Next, when they were originally planning on doing small updates after small update with Visions and Abyss, they said they were going to be more communicative, and they were for a long time. So the ups and downs is what I think is upsetting people. If they were silent after Next, and then that continued, I think we'd all be okay with it because that was the precedent that was set. But the precedent that was set was that they were going to be more communicative, that they were going to be more engaging with the audience. And then to have we're not even getting like weird tweets anymore. We were getting some weird tweets from Sean here and there. And even though it wasn't information, it was fun and it was something. And now it's just, now we're all like, we need that fix, man. I need that fix. I need my Beyond fix.
Yeah, no, I get it. When was the last Sean tweet that we got? How long has it been?
A couple days, I think it was.
No.
Couple
The latest reply actually from Sean was a few days ago, and that was in relation to something different. But the last tweet from him was quite a ways ago.
Was his last tweet or his comment to the reference of the base that looked like a Taco Bell?
There it is.
Was that the last one?
Yeah, we're talking about it's about 9 days ago.
Okay, so it's going on 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And as for the reply, it was 3 days ago. So Sean is moderately active.
So PG says in the
yeah.
chat, he says, I blame everyone who voted no more ARG.
Dude, right?
Yeah.
I to be honest, I didn't want it 6 months ago. I didn't want it again. It was too crazy last time, and it was too it was just weird. But now, honestly, I had a tear fall from my eye when the Waking Titan website went down. When I went to that website, there was nothing there anymore. I was like, oh.
Well, because it gave you something to follow, and it kept the excitement going, and it made content for content creators who were following that. And I don't know, it kind of kept us distracted until the launch did come out.
Ouch. PG, you cut me with that. Because he's right. But then again, like when we voted no, they were more regularly doing communication, right? We got 2 more bite-sized updates since then, right? We got Abyss, we got Visions. Back then, we felt like we were under a different mode of communication from them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, do we think was that a good move for them to sort of stray away from their old model of long bouts of silence with the ARG to fill it in, to move into a more regular, more transparent communication, more bite-sized updates, than to
I
go
don't
back
think it
away from it again?
worked. I don't think it worked. The problem was Visions came out and there was no real buzz about Visions.
Mhm.
And I think they saw that. I mean, let's be honest, no one bought a copy of No Man's Sky because Visions launched.
Yeah.
And I think they saw that and they're like, oh crap.
But were they really going for that, though? Were they trying? Do we feel like they were trying to move more units for Abyss and Visions? Or were they just sort of...
I don't think so. I don't think Visions and Abyss were standalone to resell or promote new sales for the game. I think they were small content updates like Foundations or Pathfinder.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah,
think
but why?
Abyss was like,
Everything they do to the game is to sell more, is to make money. At the end of the day, they're a business, like you said, and at the end of the day, why are they supporting a community that has already paid the money? Why not just leave us with Next and like clean their hands? I mean, yes, they enjoy making it, but at the end of the day, they got to pay the bills.
well, no, and I agree with you. Just like typical MMOs, they'll if you look at Elder Scrolls Online, they'll have a major launch, and then they'll have a few update patches that release a dungeon here or a couple dungeons there or a little more story.
Oh, God, don't
But
say
those
dungeons. Oh, I want that so bad.
So do I. But no, but those are small, and those keep the continuity of the game. That keeps it going. It keeps it fresh. It gives players something to do. But major updates, like for Elder Scrolls, was Somerset and Morrowind, and if you look at No Man's Sky, I kind of loop those in with Atlas Rises and Next, and now Beyond. Those are major content, DLC or updates, if you will, to the game. A little bit different from Abyss or Pathfinder or Foundations. They're not quite as big, but all the stuff that they do launch within the game entices people that don't own the game or have been on the fence of purchasing it to go out and buy it. You know what I mean?
Somebody ban Peaceful Gamer for his city's rhetoric. You cease. Like, yeah, I can't even. It's hard to argue with that too. And I have such trouble. And here's the thing: when somebody tells me that Hello Games or a team like Hello Games is out there to make money, the cynical brain that I'm so used to, and the sort of the Twitter Discord and things like that, like that cynical part of me is just like, yeah, they're in it for the Benjamins. Why else, right? But then that the AAA industry has us wired that way, right? I have trouble setting aside that kind of difference for Hello Games because I don't know that their motivations are that, right? I don't feel that. And I don't know that maybe I come across as biased for that, but I don't believe in my heart of hearts, at least knowing what I know about the team, that, I mean, sure, they made quite a bit of money at launch, pissed a whole lot of people off. But at the same time, right, am I to believe that it's the same reasons that money is the sole motivator or a primary motivator, a main motivator for this team? Or is it really genuinely the joy of what they do? And how rare is that? if that's the case. Like, how often do you see that as the explanation for what a team does, is that they do something not to squeeze every penny out of you that they can, but they genuinely want to like serve you something.
I think
really good.
I don't think it's the dollar itself they're going after for sure. I truly believe that everyone should play No Man's Sky for the experience, and because I absolutely love the experience. It has changed my life. It really has, and I think it has a lot of people, and I tell people that all the time. So I think I was wrong in saying it was for the dollar. I don't think they're doing it, but at the end of the day, when they have let's just say 1 million more people buy the game, and that's 1 million more people experience their game, and are still looking for more and have that thirst for more. You still need to think about the future of Hello Games. You got to say, okay, we have this other project, other projects we want to work on, but
they got to survive.
We got to be able to, for the next 5 years as we develop that game. We got to pay rent. We got to pay our bills. We got to buy turkeys for everyone on Thanksgiving. It's what so. It's a balance for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm looking to get some more perspectives here before we continue. Again, I'll pop it into the chat for you. There is the link to the LZ Discord. Don't be afraid to jump into the conversation here. I see Boyd Gaming jumps in. He's here. Thank you so much, Boyd, for joining in. Scott, I see your chats, my friend. It's so hard to manage a chat and such a juicy conversation going on in my ears. So do forgive me if I don't respond to every chat, because that chat is moving faster than I think many of the chats I've had on this channel before. It's quite crazy. To your credit, you are outpacing me, my friends. So do please join the LZ Discord, and in that particular room there is the waiting room under the Landing Zone podcast. Join the waiting room, and if I see you in the waiting room, I'll pull you up into the private chat. So
I actually heard a rating room.
The rating room. Yeah, I was like, the rating room. I heard myself say that. I wouldn't expect you to call me out on it live. So no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, come into the waiting room, and I will see you there. If I see you there, I'll pull you into the private conversation here live. Love to have you, and love to hear your opinions and your perspective on things, because we'll probably be going for another probably less than an hour or so. So do feel free to jump in. And for those of you who are here, if you didn't hear it earlier, we'll probably take some of these pieces of this conversation and re-upload them as separate videos on the channel here, just so we can get these out, right? My videos that I upload definitely get a lot of views, weirdly enough. No Man's Sky, 3 years later, is still generating thousands and thousands of searches on YouTube for a game that was supposed to be so controversial. It's still getting a lot of buzz. How is that possible, right? What and we got some pretty significant folks here in the chat and on the audio. And Mike, why is this game so attractive now still?
It's that it's one of the few games, and that's why live streamers love live streaming it. I think is you can. There's a lot of games that I watch. I tried watching a few games. My friend plays City Skylines, and watching him play that, it was frustrating to watch him stream it, because I was like, I wouldn't do that. I want to put the road somewhere else. I want to put the city somewhere else. Don't click there. But with No Man's Sky, I can watch someone else play and enjoy every moment of it, because it's a unique adventure that no one else has had. So my opinion means nothing, because it's their own adventure I'm watching. And honestly, that's what annoys me a little with Nets. Just the first 30 hours or so is pretty similar with everybody, but after that, and when you really start making your own way in the game, it's unlike any story-driven game out there, and it's not the same thing over and over. Every time someone plays, it's something different, and that's why I think a lot of people like watching the gameplay of it. For a channel like mine that does mostly streams and story, focused stuff, but I think it also has penetrated the YouTube algorithm, whereas there's, that the No Man's Sky has so much weight to it at this point.
I don't know, that he dropped or did he stop?
because that
Okay,
it,
there it goes.
it's as soon as that, you know,
I wonder if I get to playing and it's the game that causes the chat to go funky. Here, I'll stop playing and just sort of hang out here. There we go. That was to give somebody some nice, pretty footage.
when content, because people would see it.
So the buzz is that it's such a mysterious game to watch, and I mean, how many people do you think? How many people are? I've seen the discourse sort of change with No Man's Sky very oddly over the past couple of years. Right, it went from you can't talk about this game without somebody jumping into your mentions or your YouTube comments talking about some kind of cynical motivations for Sean Murray and the team. Why is that different now? I'm seeing so little of that now. Do you think that there's been some level of vindication or some level of proof, even regardless of the launch? Because I know that's a big topic. It always will be a topic to some degree because some jackhole in the room is going to bring it up and fold their arms and say that it was some kind of personal slight. But how is that turned around? What can y'all tell me what's your feelings on that?
I think it's a accumulation of several things. I think number one, the fact that if we want to go back to the controversy of the launch, you look at Hello Games and how they took a foothold of the launch, where they kind of put their heads in the sand and put their nose to the grindstone and got to work on trying to improve or enhance the game, right? So it's accumulation between the content and the passion that they have for their player base, right? Because they didn't abandon it. They could have, but they didn't. And it was the improvements that made that drew community, it grew the community of players, right? There's probably more people playing the game now than, well, I wouldn't say maybe at the beginning of launch, but when you saw the decline, it escalated and reached really high numbers for sales and everything, and people were streaming the game like crazy on Twitch, and then you could just saw it drop off. It was like a harsh fall, right? But now that trend is going back up, and the stuff that they've added into the game has been diverse enough to draw a lot of different people to play the game. Some people like to trade, some people like to explore, some people like the PvP aspect, some people base building. There's enough, even now, just with Next, there's enough in the game that will pique players' interest. And I think that as they get involved in playing the game, and they start listening to different content creators' channels like Legacy Zero or Cobra Sword, right? Or even Ivy Mike or Gaming Mike. You have all these, excellent content creators out there that produce good content for the game, and there's a lot of positive feedback from that. And so people grow an affinity with that, and before you know it, you have a really wonderful, tight-knit community that kind of stands up against the haters out there that want to continue to bash the game for no reason at all.
That's fair. I do. Speaking of Piranha, I mentioned that word earlier. That is definitely a thing. When we see somebody sort of talking negatively about the No Man's Sky, not even, I mean, I don't think we're an unreasonable bunch. But I have seen the Piranha go wild on folks that don't particularly have a well-informed opinion from my perspective. You've Been Cheese said earlier in the chat. He said, I actually would not be opposed to spending $5 to $20 for upcoming updates. I would love to see a thriving community 3 years from now, still getting updates for variety, planets, cosmetics, and bases. And that brings up another point. We've gotten so used to having No Man's Sky content updates be free. At what point would Sean Murray, and why would it be okay for him to just jump out and say, I want to charge for this particular piece of content? What would that look like, and would that even be acceptable at all? Would we as a community be able to take that and be like, yeah, okay, that seems like a valuable offering?
If the content was large enough and had substance, depending on the price, right? Because they can price it at different different price points. I mean, I can speak for myself. I would pay for Beyond. I think the fact that they're adding multiplayer online and VR support, that would substantiate me being able to pay, 20, 30, $40 for the content, for the update. I think it would deserve it. But the content has to be there. It has to be large enough. If they're gonna distribute, something like Abyss, I could see paying, $10, $15 for Abyss. Now that's what Elder Scrolls Online does. When they do when they came out with Morrowind, that was $40. Elsewhere it was 40 some dollars. Those were a little more expensive, but they were beefier updates, right, to the MMO. So I think that No Man's Sky could do that. Don't know that everybody is on the same track as that. I don't know that everybody would be acceptable of that. I think we've grown accustomed so long now to getting free up. That is kind of the point, is where do you draw that line? And when you quit giving free updates and start charging? I don't know that they're ever going to. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I don't think that they ever will, at least I don't think that they have any idea of doing so in the foreseeable future, is because we're already working on other projects. And I think that's the reason why they were looking at selling the game on Xbox, and they were looking at selling No Man's Sky for a VR launch. And there might be, can't confirm, but there might be No Man's Sky on Google Stadia. That could potentially happen, right? And that would feed their bank account enough for them to support making The Last Campfire and the new project that they haven't stated, or they haven't given a title for yet. Those will be sold, and they can move forward from those titles.
I don't think they ever.
Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie, but I don't think they would ever do it. I think every single person that plays the game now would be okay with it. I think everyone that is a fan of No Man's Sky, I would pay. I've bought 4 copies of No Man's Sky. I've bought it for people. I bought it for giveaways. If I bought it, for friends, I'd pay for it again myself. I bought it for PS4 and I gave away my PS4. So I'd be fine paying for it. And most fans, I think,
here you go.
yeah. Well, it was to my brother. So, but
Fair enough.
At the end of the day, the media and the haters that are asleep now and have gone away would all be rearisen. Because as soon as they see that in a title of a news article that there's paid DLC for No Man's Sky, the dam would break. It would be the release all over again with the haters, because that unfortunately that negativity cut deep on a lot of people, and this game isn't for everybody, and a lot of people found that out. But those people remember, and I just don't think Sean would ever even go near that. It wouldn't be worth it.
And that's a shame too, because I know I've made comments on Cobra Show that the whole community event thing was wonderful. It was great while it lasted, but I don't know that they're going to bring community events back. And I think that's the whole purpose between multiplayer online. Who's to say, but speculation. We could see, group questing, or raids or something like that, depending on how they're handling multiplayer online. But the Quicksilver store, if I go and create a brand new character now, I can't get any items out of that Quicksilver store because that save file can't access those items. I don't have the Quicksilver to purchase them. So
that's a good point.
If they made content like that and sold it 99 cents for a pack of trees, $1.50 for some new paint jobs on your start.
I got trees, man. I got trees.
Right. I mean, I would be relatively okay with that, and I would probably support it because, by all rights, I mean, we're their fans, and we should show support where we can.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I did see a couple of meaningful comments in the chat. One was that splitting the player base is a big no-no, and that was from Peaceful Gamer, and I tend to agree with that point. But then just a few comments up, somebody had said that they would pay for the VR functionality if No Man's Sky if Hello Games had offered it up. that technically wouldn't be splitting the player base, so to speak. I mean, aside from the differences in folks who are non-VR not being able to wave their arms like idiots, like I would, at other players that did have VR, like, would that have been acceptable for them to charge for that? And barring the sort of negativity line from the snipers from the corners of the internet who probably, as Sean said, had no interest in playing the game forever or even that long, like, would that have, what would be the limit, right? Would there be ways that they could charge for DLC? Because he never sort of ruled it out at launch or shortly after launch, but they haven't bothered charging for anything either. It's kind of hard. Like, I wonder about the day at some point before they sort of hang up their support of the game, doing one more, charging for it as, for one, a business decision, and then two, being able to say, hey, this is that we did 4 years of work, if we're speaking hypothetically. We're going to give you something cool that you can give us a little bit of money for. Here's $15. It's $15. It's No Man's Sky Underverse, where you go to this weird place. Yeah, I'm just spinning out random stuff that I've shower thoughts or whatever. But
Underverse confirmed here on LZ.
Yeah, oh God, no. If that's real, I'm sorry for ruining your lives, everybody. I leaked it a year early. Come back to this video and call me the prophet that I am. But no, I mean, would they ever bother? You had said that he would never bother. At what point do you think, after Beyond, for instance, when online is a thing, we still don't know what that is or what the scope of it is, but what if it's significantly popular enough where, I mean, we're talking about, let's say, for example, DayZ was just a mod at one point, and the creator, Rocket, and the small team of modders that had sort of put that together said they would never charge extra for it. A year later, 2 years later, they're charging for a standalone version of the game, which is like $40, and then they just sort of left the game hanging, and it just now left beta, so to speak, right?
Well, now I
thought
Sony bought. Didn't Sony buy the rights to DayZ?
I think Arma, Bohemia owns the right to it. As far as I know, they're the developers, or at least they own, because DayZ was formed from the Arma engine and the Arma tech. It was a mod that was created off of Arma 2. And now that we have, I mean, so they probably just had an agreement to release it once it was stable enough to do it. And I like to watch some streams here and there. I played a lot of DayZ back in the past before it had a standalone release, but the popularity of DayZ was enough for them to finally say, okay, you know what, we'll make a standalone version and make you buy it again. Would that ever, do we think that would ever shift? And would there ever be a reason, not that I'm, looking to just scratch together a reason for them to charge for the game eventually, at what point would the No Man's Sky community pick up their pitchforks and torches and say, that's not acceptable for you to charge for this?
I think he left himself a cushion when he made the statement that currently we don't have any anticipations of selling any future updates in the foreseeable future. But I think in an interview he made a comment that's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think the reason why he stated it that way was because they probably don't have any reservations of selling any of the content that they create. But if something were to happen, something tragic, and they needed the extra income, then they left themselves a buffer to where if they wanted to release content that was purchasable, they could.
Okay.
So
them not outright saying them not saying we'll never not charge or we'll never charge is sort of their cushion for them eventually one day maybe charging for something.
Well, I don't when he was on, oh my goodness, wow, I think he was on that one talk show. I can't remember the gentleman's name because I don't really watch late night TV, but I know he was on a talk show, and I saw. Yes.
Yeah, good old
Colbert.
Steve Colbert.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think he asked about updates to the game and if he was going to ever sell these updates or what was his future plans for No Man's Sky. And I think I don't want to say it's verbatim, but I think the way that he stated it was that for the foreseeable future, we don't have any anticipations of having the players pay for the content that we release.
For the foreseeable
But-
future.
Right, for the foreseeable future. So, and I don't know what that means. That's very cryptic, right? That doesn't mean that they never will, but if something happens and they feel justified or that they need to, then they could, right? And they wouldn't necessarily be lying to their player base. I mean, I don't know how do you see it?
I think that is definitely nebulous speak enough for them to say, well, technically, we said we weren't going to charge for something in the foreseeable future. But then again, like knowing Sean Murray
that was
and
pre-launch though.
right. But at the same time, I don't think Sean Murray and crew would ever say anything. I mean, remember the launch and remember now, right? They barely talk to us as it is. They could easily come out with something and say, this DLC is going to be $15. Hope you like it. And then
Right.
retired back to their realm or wherever without having to.
But
Their radio silence.
Yeah.
it's funny though, because every time they've come out with an update on their website or even in the trailer, they always make the statement at the very end that it's free
Mm-hmm.
And more will follow.
and
more will follow. Yeah.
So, I mean, is it necessary for them to state that? I mean, we're going to know when we get the update, when we go to our PC or we go to our console and we go to put in the disc and we go to launch the game and there's a free update. I mean, we're going to know that. So is it necessary for him to state that?
You bring up a good point. Any other game that I own, I find out about an update when it just updates. There's no other. I play like Conan Exiles, for example, and there's updates a lot, and I never follow their Twitter, and I never follow the developers. When there's an update, I'm like, oh, cool, let's share out what that update was. But I think that No Man's Sky was built upon a hype train. Let's be honest. And I think that that's the only marketing they don't have a marketing budget. I don't think they ever put a dime into actually putting up a billboard anywhere, or putting out commercials. They make a trailer and that's it. So it's a very unique model that they've developed. Let's be there's no other game like it.
There was a lot of hype. Like a lot. Some of it, and I'll be honest, a lot of my hype was about stuff that I didn't know or just nebulously thought of. Like, what if you're going to be able to do that in No Man's Sky? And I think everybody thought that. So, but that's on me. I mean, Sean's nebulous speak about the game, sure, post-launch probably didn't help, or pre-launch probably didn't help that. But that doesn't make him at fault for it either, right? Because my mind's just like, would it be cool if you could do that in No Man's Sky? And just I don't know. Maybe I was a tiny bit disappointed about the things that I sort of dreamt up that would be cool about No Man's Sky. Some of which has actually happened now, if I'm being honest. But, I would be surprised if they ever charged for No Man's. And actually, aside from that, I would be surprised if No Man's Sky Beyond was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was it, right? Because and the only thing that has me thinking that for No Man's Sky Online, right? They have added the thing, right? That's No Man's Sky Online. It's the online community. That's whatever No Man's Sky, the future of No Man's Sky might be. It's almost like I just get this feeling that we won't see any major content updates past that, but more so just support for No Man's Sky Online, right? Making sure that it's running well, and maybe some live events like we were talking about earlier, because I think their idea of live events and the community events were they had the right idea. I just wish they had a little more pizzazz, right? I made a video about Fortnite and No Man's Sky and how No Man's Sky can learn about Fortnite, and I got properly dunked on in the comments. As a matter of fact, my videos usually do pretty good in a day, right? Where they'll go up and they'll probably hit about 1,000 views, at least in the first day. This video hit 800 really fast and then just tanked. Like, even the YouTube algorithm was just like, bro, are you stupid? Right, what are you talking about? But I think they might just stop with Beyond and focus on maybe just upkeep at that point. What do you think?
So, guys, before I gotta go, it's getting late for me.
Mm-hmm.
You said you had a few choice words for me, LZ.
Oh, that was it. I just wanted to say congratulations on your loss. I don't mean that in a mean way either. Like, finally, somebody dethroned this guy. That was the what happened with that? Like, I kind of liked it because I know you probably talked to Cobra about it too, but you were obviously the reigning champ at the Galactic Thunderdome this entire time. You finally met your match. What happened with that? What was there a different strategy?
Could be different arena. Could be the fact that he trained really hard. He was doing aerial shots out the wazoo. He was good. He
Interesting.
was good.
I did watch it, and there was a lot of good crack shots.
Yeah.
Now, what happened with that?
admit,
Like, would you?
Where did he come from?
I don't even know who this person is. Who is this person?
He was literally in the air. He was literally in the air, firing shots and connecting them. I'd do good if I could do that.
He must play a lot of Halo.
Probably.
He must be used to that kind of mechanic.
Probably. Also could have also been the fact that I downgraded my multi-tool, basically.
Oh.
I had only grenades and a blaze javelin installed, and a pulse spitter. Not my scatter blaster, blaze javelin, pulse spitter, and all that fun, and all the upgrades related to that.
Nice. Well, maybe
So,
I think I see
because
some
of that-
folks. I see some folks in the chat calling for a rematch.
Really?
I do. What does everybody think? Does everybody think Snow we should see round 2?
Yeah. Only to get murdered again.
Only to get I don't know. He trained hard,
Only
so
to
can
get
you.
melted and shattered.
You were the Galactic Thunderdome god for quite some time.
Hey, if you rematch him now, you know what you're up against, right?
Yeah,
This is true. Definitely true.
you changed up the
I'm
strategy.
I'm excited for the PC Galactic Thunderdome. I know Zane is building up a sky base for PC players, so I'm ready. I'm pumped.
You know,
I did
if
see
I get
that.
a PC, if I get a PC and try Galactic Thunderdome, I'm not gonna win.
I don't know. I see, but here's the problem, or not really a problem, but a good thing about the PC version is you're getting less issues with performance, which means
Sure.
your aim is going to be a lot more Johnny on the spot. And I've seen Zane's been building quite a nice arena, and I do love the sky arenas, right? The ones that are off the ground and that you can fall off of. That's I'm kind of darkly pleased by that, but at the same time, right? It's going to be I can't wait to see those, and Sword will probably be involved in those as well, and so yeah, Snow Obsidian finally taken down after more than a year, about a year worth of
No, but less than a year, but
holding
close
on to the
to a
title
year.
belt there.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm going to give everybody one more chance to jump in. I know Mr. Obsidian's jumping out. It's so good to have you. Thanks for joining up. I'm going to
great
give
to
everybody
be
one
here.
more shot to jump into the live chat here with us, because we'll have one more topic to talk about here before we close up shop for the night. I popped the LZ Discord link in there. Click that. Jump into the waiting room, and then we'll be happy to drag you over into the private chat here. So I'd love to have y'all here. Accidentally left my own chat. There it is. Love to have you here. If you want to jump in, come in, say hi, give us your perspective. So the last question: because tonight we've talked pretty extensively about the sort of history of No Man's Sky. We talked about No Man's Sky on next gen, the wait for Beyond, and how excruciating that has been. So the last question for tonight and the last topic is Component 3. What is it? What is it, and why the mystery? Because Sean Murray was very, very anxious to get No Man's Sky Online out there. He was very anxious to get VR out there. Why is he holding Component 3 months later, right? He what we learned about Beyond and VR, but like in February? March, was it?
Yeah.
Forever ago.
Forever ago, it feels like. Yeah, I'm with you there.
I've slept a lot since.
You slept a lot? Is that your way of passing the time?
Yeah.
Not a bad way to go, honestly. I tell you what, it is times like this when I'm not playing No Man's Sky as much that I have discovered that I am a man of a certain age, right? I have figured out during this summer that my favorite things, weirdly, that are not gaming related, obviously, and very weirdly, is like having my mower and a cold beer and headphones blasting music. Like, you know I'm about to touch 40. Like, that kind of stuff pleases me, right? And so I'm doing anything to pass the time, right? And why is it that Component 3 has been so out of our grasp? And it's sort of the final puzzle piece. Summer is not, it doesn't have long left, right? It's going to start getting cold here. When's the last day of summer? September-ish?
Like first week of September, somewhere in there. Yeah.
We don't have a long way to go. So what is it? What is Component 3? And of course, I'm watching the chat too there for everybody that's participating in the chat. Let us know what you think, or of course, jump in the call, Peaceful Gamer. Yeah, you coward, you. And I'd like to hear, what is Component 3? What do you think Component? I'm hearing a lot from folks that they expect it to be maybe a space update.
I think. Well, for a long time, I thought Component 3 was going to be heavily content update, and nothing in particular. But when that survey came out, and I know that you follow Cobra, and he's been tick marking.
Oh, not the damn survey.
Yeah. But you know what?
That damn survey.
here's the thing, though. I honestly, at this point, as late in the game as we are, waiting for the update to come out, I think that the third pillar is going to be the patch notes now.
The third pillar is the patch notes?
We're going to get the patch notes. And in that patch notes, he's going to probably reveal all the additional content that we don't know about, right? Yeah, more base building, how diverse the new NPC animations are going to be. There might be overhaul to space. There might be overhaul to, questing. Now with multiplayer online, we're going to see maybe a guild menu where we can do guild managed players that are grouped together in communities. It's just going to be filled with probably tons of content, and then stuff that we probably aren't even expecting.
Yeah, I think there's going to be one big thing that will be a part of the Pillar 3 that no one has any idea. But we all have speculation at this point, but no one knows. I mean, I would love them to release it without telling us what Component 3 is, and we have to find it. And discover that would be incredible, great for content creators. But let's be honest, they're going to announce it probably maybe a week before, a day before, who knows? But it's going to be something that no one, I truly think that no one is expecting, and it may be part of what we're speculating. But
wait, whoa, I don't mean to interrupt.
Who knows?
But you just said something I didn't know I wanted. Like, rewind for a second. You were just like
mystery, true mystery.
You're just like, Component 3
I want portals that don't work again, and let us figure it out for real in the game. That would be true, and have it be community driven on that, where people have to work together and solve crazy puzzles in the game, and that's what this game would. Oh, that would be next level.
By the way, I brought Peaceful Gamer in here. Welcome, you
Yeah, the
elusive man.
coward
You.
showed up, buddy.
I'm surprised he didn't fall victim to your narcolepsy. Hey, there he goes. Never mind. He nodded off. He's gone.
What's happening? What's happening?
Somebody turn his PS4 off.
Yeah.
He's gonna
The alarm
die.
clock.
What's up, PG?
What's happening, guys?
So, and I want to reiterate that because that's crazy, and I know we like to delve into speculation a lot and stuff like that. But you saying that No Man's Sky Beyond Component 3 is just going to be this mystery thing, and go out there and get it. That blows my mind, and now I kind of want that. Like, even if it's just like a space update, subtle, just like, hey, we're not going to tell you what Component 3 is. You go get it. It's out there somewhere. Or they'll just say, hey, we just put a lot of stuff in the game that wasn't there before. Have fun. Like, how would y'all feel about that being Component 3?
I would love that.
I mean, that'd be awesome, right? I mean, that's true discovery, right?
And you know what? It's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, aside from that damn survey that Cobra seems to love so much, which he has a point, right? It's got merit, right? He definitely backs it up. And every time he brings it up, I do a cringe, and then I'm just like, okay, he's right. And like, so do you had mentioned that you think that they're not going to sort of ceremoniously reveal Component 3. They're just going to sort of drop it. There it is. Here's your update. Here's Component 3 is named this, and here's the rest of everything. Go enjoy the update later tomorrow.
Well, I mean, okay, so like if we're speaking about speculation, we're looking at it purely conjecture. Like we are assuming now, right, that the Beyond update's going to come out maybe August 9th, I guess. You know, and if that's true, if it's an anniversary update, right? Well, then that leaves us what, three weeks? Is that about right? About 3 weeks before August 9th hit.
Basically, yeah.
And I mean, and if that's how much short of time that we have to wait, if that's true, then they would have to give us, something either this week or next week. But typically, when they patch notes, well, no, because I think next they release patch notes like the day of, or I don't know. But I mean, if we're going to get some kind of a reveal, be either this week or next week, I think he'll miss his mark. The update will be out if it launches August 9th.
I needed to launch before then. All right about that. I'm just saying, like, I'm doing pretty good about keeping distracted. But damn it. Like, throw me a bone here, man. Like, and here's the thing. I love talking about it, and it's weird to me that there are people that exist that they sort of get passionately fighty with their No Man's Sky discourse. I mean, I had to block somebody on Twitter the other day just because they wanted to be antagonistic about it. And I if anything, I wanted to talk about it. Like, I want to know more. I want people to tell me their really cool ideas, like what we just said, like how it just being a mystery, right? That's the kind of speculation that I enjoy. But here's the thing, something like that isn't outside of the realm of possibility, right? Sean said that Beyond is going to contain a whole lot of things we weren't expecting. I mean, those are his words. And
yeah, he said, I think verbatim, in past updates, there was a lot of things that players kind of maybe were expecting, but then there's that 10% of stuff that they didn't even know that they were. Said it's that 10% that there's a lot of in this Beyond update.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say there was 10%. He said there was a lot of that in this Beyond update.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe there's going to be more than just 10% of content that we're unfamiliar with. I think there'll be a ton of stuff that we had no clue that we were going to get. I think huge.
I mean, but we have to factor in. But well, let's talk about the content they already added that they know they added. You know, just the stuff that they added just for VR alone. I mean, new cockpits. The Exocraft have interiors now, which honestly, I'm sure they will, but I'm hoping
Dude, the
non-VR.
motorcycle inside view is going to be.
Epic.
Oh,
Yeah,
can't wait.
like I can't wait to see this stuff, and I'm
Mhm.
genuinely hoping that the non-VR folk like me get to enjoy the fruits of that. I really want that because I don't foresee myself getting.
There'd be
into
no
VR.
reason for them not to put it in. They have the assets. There'd be no
Still have
reason for you to.
first-person view, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even just stupid stuff like some of the demo footage that we saw where they were like turning their head and looking out to see the engine and the wing. Like maybe that's not that practical unless we're talking like combat. But I want that stupid stuff. Like I want that
Yeah.
that those little arbitrary things to where I can look because right now I feel like my traveler inside the ship kind of like slept wrong and now they have like a crick in their neck and they can't turn their head but so much. And that bothers me a bit. So I'm kind of hoping for immersion's sake that I get
That's
to take
why I-
advantage of that stuff.
So that's why I love that the fighter ship, those round cockpits so much, because you really have a freedom of movement to look side to side in there. And that's generally kind of how I play too. I
Mhm.
mimic head movement when I play. I like to like fly around and look to my left, look to my
Mhm.
right. Especially I like taking off from a planet sometimes, just like with just like the regular, not even like warping or anything, but just taking it easy, taking a nice slow flight out of atmosphere and just kind of tilt the ship a little bit to the side so I can see the planet fading below me. So I already kind of have this sort of way of sort of playing this virtual way, like I'm actually kind of like moving my head around. So once
Yeah.
I can do that in VR, I think, oh my god,
Yeah,
it's
you
gonna
bought
be so
VR, didn't
crazy.
you? You're
Man. I bought PSVR. I went all in again. I bought a PS4 for this game. I just bought a PSVR for this game.
you got a pro, did you?
So no, I don't even have a Pro. I have the base.
Oh, you
I'm
got the
waiting
base.
I'm waiting for my PS4 to overheat, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you're waiting for it to catch fire. Are you like me? You're
I've got
you're
it, like-
praying for that thing to break so you can have a justification to buy a
Yes.
new one. Yeah.
and then I'm just gonna swap it out, sneak it. The wife will never notice.
Sorry, wife. I guess I'm just gonna have to go buy a PS4 Pro now.
No, there will be no such discussion. There will just
Let's see.
be
What do you think
item.
Component 3 is?
What do I think Component 3 is? Or who did you ask?
Oh, man.
Oh, either one of you. I mean, you guys are both. Let's be honest. You guys know this game inside and out. What do you guys think it's going to be? I mean,
So I think aside from the VR component, which is it's mostly just a gameplay mechanic, with some some addition of assets to help with the immersion aspect of the game. Then you've got No Man's Sky Online. I wish I knew more about that piece particularly because if I'm being honest, I play mostly alone. Which is weird. Like I would love to be able to play with other people in No Man's Sky, but it's already to a point where I just don't want to walk around places with people. It sounds weird, I know. I mean, like I exploring with other folks, but so I want No Man's Sky Online to be significant and meaningful. But third component to me sounds like it's going to have to be a realization of No Man's Sky in general. And it could be a space update, right? Because I think we all agree that space has been the thing that has gotten the least amount of attention, content-wise, overhaul-wise. Mostly everything in the game has gotten a sort of a reworking to a degree, and I feel like space has been the thing, with the exception of space stations. Space has been the thing that has been sort of neglected in that regard. So I think that Component 3 probably should be. I don't know that it would be, but it should be something that makes space what people sort of originally wanted it to be, right? And like hear me out for a second.
Are you talking solar system mechanics or?
Yeah, well, say for instance, right? You know how you sort of warp in sometimes, and you see this giant freighter in front of you, and it's being attacked, right? What if that freighter is not being attacked at all, but the fight already happened, right? And you can just this freighter is just sort of floating derelict and destroyed, and it's there for the taking, right? You can go in and explore it and loot it. And maybe it's filled with sort of crazy, angry monsters like Dead Space or something, right? I think, and I've made videos about this sort of what I want the sort of No Man's Sky 2.0 to be, right? I was talking about things like adding dungeons, procedural dungeons to the game, giving me a reason to sort of gallivant the galaxy with my buddies, and sort of a PvE type of situation. And the same is for space, right? Those abandoned space stations. I was streaming the other day, and I found my very first abandoned space station. I never went out of my way to go look for them, but I discovered one for the very first time, and I remember looking at it and going, "This is great. Now what?" Right?
Mhm.
It was just sort of, "Hey, I'm on this thing. It looks super awesome. I have this feeling of atmosphere that they did a very good job of conveying. What else could they do to that to really capitalize on that thing?" So I'm really hoping that Component 3 is a capitalization of everything you see here. It is a realization of sort of, it's the paint on the canvas, so to speak. That's kind of what I'm hoping that Component 3 is.
Hey, Legacy. So
Go for it.
you talked about derelict spaceships like freighters and stuff like that. I think that's brilliant. I think it's awesome. Those abandoned space stations could be handled in the same way. If you're planetary, if you're looking at planets, you could see like an abandoned shipyard, or you could see like the temples that we currently go and we seek out relics or artifacts. Don't make it something that we just dig up. Make it something that we have to like traverse and explore and go to the different chambers and halls and rooms and stuff like that to go find this stuff, right?
Yeah, otherwise, it's just a statue on a planet somewhere, right? I want these things to have meaning and depth.
But if you look at all that, I mean, now what we're talking about is a sci-fi version of what we would see as dungeons in a fantasy game. And that leads me into the MMO component, right? We're talking about a third component, but is very relevant to the other two. And I mean, when he had in Sean Murray's one of Sean Murray's interviews, he said, they'd say, what is multiplayer online? What is? And he said, a lot of common elements that you find in a typical MMO, you'll find in No Man's Sky. He goes, there won't be, we won't be having a cash store. There won't be any membership fees or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about common gameplay elements. So, you have to take that content and what he said, and you have to look at the typical MMOs that we play today and ask ourselves, what are the commonalities behind all these MMOs that would be relevant to the No Man's Sky universe? Are we looking at auction?
So you're saying all that stuff would be part of online and not part of Pillar 3 then?
Well, they go together apparently.
I think it's both. Yeah. And I think that's why he launched Beyond. He launched Beyond the way he's launching it, because each one of these components were supposed to be an independent launch time, but they worked so well together that he went ahead and made the decision to launch all three together as one big massive update.
I need to see just how well these things go together. Because it could be that our speculation about the three separate pieces is really just speculation about one larger piece. Not even just how he's presenting it, but how it all goes together. Sort of VR notwithstanding, right? VR is sort of how you play versus the other two components, I imagine, is what you play.
Right.
Well, sort of like VR is how you play. Online is who you're playing with. Component 3 is what the hell are you playing?
Yeah. What are you what
What
are
are we
you
playing
playing together? Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what are we playing in VR? I think definitely it's got something to do with the
But I don't know.
content.
I
So,
don't know if any of the. Yeah, I could be mistaken. Somebody can call me out. But I don't know if there's been a really hard analysis or comparison with MMOs, the common elements of MMOs, and the No Man's Sky game. I mean, in a typical MMO, you're looking at player progression. That's common. You're
Mhm.
looking at auction houses and player economy.
mm,
That's common. You're
Squads or
looking at
guilds.
guild
Mhm.
menus and guild management systems. That's common. You're looking at raids and dungeons.
Yep.
That's common. You're looking at loot, ward
Oh,
systems.
loot.
That's
I
common.
did a whole video based on loot. I'm
Yeah,
with you
you're
there.
looking
And
at
what's
hubs.
weird is
There's hubs in
we
MMOs.
we mentioned that earlier. Like the very loot can't the concept of loot is already in the game. It's just underutilized.
Correct.
I think there's a lot of concepts in the game that are very underutilized. It
Mhm.
seems like the game right now is full of these sort of like beta tests of, we have a little bit of online, not really. We have a 4-player co-op. We have, this sort of economy that's there that could be fleshed out with a player economy. The base building stuff that could be fleshed out even further into creating, larger hub type, C word, and all these sort of different things I see in the game where I'm like, man, this could be really expanded. This stuff could be really taken beyond what it currently is.
Mhm.
So I'm sort of thinking in terms of the stuff that's already there, that this update has the potential to sort of take those things and really flesh them out.
Now,
beyond
imagine a
beyond the current
universe,
setting.
where every star system doesn't have a ringed planet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
even
know.
just want something as simple, and I don't know how Sean feels about this. Maybe he evolved on it, but planet rotation, not orbit, but rotation. Because I feel like right now the day-night cycle on a planet-sized planet is artificial. I mean, even just what we're looking at now, I filmed like 3 time lapses on the channel here, and you'll notice that it just sort of goes from day, stays a while,
Yeah.
then it switches to night, stays a while, and it's just like, what is this, Zelda? Like, and so I would even just want basic things like that. And it was in the game at some point, and they said they took it out because it focus tested poorly. To which I respond,
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, and I think something like that could just be solved with
Yeah, we need that
better navigation.
difficulty.
Mm-hmm. Like, and it would. I
It
think it would
could
make
be some
things
sort of
feel more
different-
organic.
Yeah,
So what are
more
you?
real.
So LZ, what are your thoughts on multiplayer online content? Then what are your thoughts?
We
Oof.
need a common enemy.
That's a good thing to end the show on. And it's a tough one too, because in bafflingly enough, in the No Man's Sky community, the multiplayer conversation is very. It's kind of always been a minefield to travel through, because you've got sort of a camp mentality when it comes to those who do and don't want multiplayer. Like, say for instance, you have folks that just want their sort of singular experience. I don't want to play with anybody else. I darn sure don't want a PvP where it just goes to I just want to kill each other. And I think a lot of those folks just forget that you can just switch that off. But aside from that, I think a lot of the solo folks, I like to call them the tourists, like, and I'm one of those folks. Like, I don't play with a lot of folks on No Man's Sky just because I kind of enjoy my solo experience, but I want a reason to play with other people, other than just, hey, let's go walk together. Let's go see if we can climb that mountain. You see that mountain over there? You can go there. Let's go together, right? I want baddies to fight, right? I want caves to go in that I I may not come out of, right? I want there to be some danger. I want there to be reason for things that we're doing, and that's been sort of my sort of presentation of No Man's Sky videos in the last few months, since roughly April, beginning of April, is that there's a whole lot of things in No Man's Sky, but there's a whole lack of reason for those things, and that's what I'm hoping they're adding, is even particularly, especially multiplayer wise, is that there is reason for these things. There is a reason for me to go there. There's a reason for me to play with other people. There is a reason for me to go to the center of the galaxy. There's a reason for me to get together with 6 people, 16 people, and go find this planet that apparently is so far away from a sun that it could take hours to get there, and supposedly there's some kind of carrot at the end of the stick. But I want to wonder that kind of stuff, right? I want to be able to play together. And if you're asking me, like, if there should be a PvP component, I don't see why not, right? I don't see why they couldn't do some kind of adversarial sort of like PlanetSide 2 type situation. Because here's the thing. The game has planets. So just imagine, you just throw 100 people into one solar system, right? They can't travel outside of it. Just think of it as a separate mode, right? And there's like 3 planets in this solar system, and you throw 100 people into this thing, and it's a control for territory, and you've got fighters fighting, and you've got bases being built, and type of like a tower defense type of mechanic, and you've got freighters duking it out, and you've got capital ships that are sort of kind of hanging out off of the side, sort of giving orders or operating or nuking planets, or it doesn't even have to be a start, middle, and end to it, but just a perpetual thing that exists where people are fighting and coming together, or taking on the other team, or dominating a solar system. And yes, there will probably be death, but that's okay because it's a simulation and there isn't any blood, and maybe that's what the ESRB is looking at. And right, and that if we're talking PvP, like, go big or go home, I say. For a game like No Man's Sky, I think Hello Games could have... I've always tried to make a case that PvP, if it's done in the vein of No Man's Sky and that creativity, it doesn't have to be Call of Duty 6v6 in No Man's Sky. It could be so much more than that.
Right.
My vision of online, is a new game mode. You join in, and you have to choose one of 4, fractions. You choose one of 4. If you start, everyone starts in one system in one quadrant of a galaxy. And so there's 4 quadrants to the galaxy. There's one main capital in each thing. And so now you have this whole community of people together. And the people that want to go out and be explorers can go out, and you have an entire quadrant of galaxy that's empty of people. You could go out and do your own thing, or you could bring a group of friends with you and explore. Or you could go to one of the other quadrants and wage war against the other, if that's what you want to do, or you could, befriend them, or, that's my hope of what we're going to see, is to build that type of, we'll see.
That's
so much
lovely.
speculation.
Well, I
Sorry.
agree with Ivy Mike. I think we have factions in the game, and not just racial factions, but we have guild factions as well. But the one thing about No Man's Sky, that if I had to complain about anything about No Man's Sky, as much as I love the game, there's no real harsh consequence for any of your actions. If you pick one faction over another, it doesn't matter. They don't care. There's no, the other faction's not going to hate you. You're not going to be killed on or any of that, right? There's no real substance to pissing off the other faction.
I want to hate you in
And,
real life if you're a Gek sympathizer.
Get the game for life. Get the gang.
Cobra would
There-
love that I've said that. I thought about it when I said that,
But there needs to be, I think, some of that. There needs to be factions. There needs to be consequences for your actions. If you decide to be a pirate, I mean, yeah, granted, Sentinels are going to come out and hunt you down away until you drop threat, but I mean that's kind of generic, in my opinion. You know, yeah, I don't know. With multiplayer online, I think there should be an overhaul to faction building and grouping together and being able to diversify what kind of events or activities you're going to do as a group or guild.
I
I think all
appreciate
the
that. That's
Sentinels
good.
need to be corrupted.
What do you think, PG? Sorry.
I think we need a new sentinel type. We need something humanoid, something like the NPCs are going to be walking around. I want to see some sentinels walking around, and we need some sort of persistent, some sort of common enemy. Even for the people who want to play solo but still want to have some sort of adversarial combat happen. Just shooting drones and some walkers here and there. I don't know, like what you were saying about the abandoned space stations. What if you landed there and they're just completely overrun by these, new types of sentinels, and you got to kind of battle them and get through them because they're protecting something that's on that station or something like that, or even a
That all
captured
sounds
freighter
really
or
good.
something.
But we'd have to be able to shoot our multi-tools indoors then.
That's
Yes.
also true. What a weird thing. Like, oh, sorry, you're in this weird abandoned rundown building on a planet's surface in the middle of the nowhere. Can't shoot your gun though.
Well, and dang it, I want to be able to aim down the sights, and I want real scopes. That's
Ooh.
small, right? But I do. I want
Ooh.
real scopes for the game, and I've mentioned this in one of Cobra's subcasts, but in the lore we've talked about the threat of Sentinels and how they destroyed civilizations across all planets, right? And that's why when we land on the planets, we just see a little outpost here, ancient ruins here that used to be, representing a thriving city at one point in the history of No Man's Sky. Well, us as players, now we've kind of have started to come together, and through base building, we've started building communities and we've started building locales, right? And I think with the Beyond update, especially if they're going to implement more diverse base building, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't implement new Sentinels, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Sentinels started attacking our bases, our outposts.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Because that would
Imagine. We should say imagine all day, but imagine if you had quadrants on planets, and if you destroyed a certain number of sentinels in that quadrant of a planet, they would stop spawning there, and then you could eliminate all of the sentinels on one whole planet, or have, to some people's point, have pointed out maybe sentinel mother planets where it's just overrun with walkers.
Wow.
And so much.
right. Or
So
what
much
if the
is much.
planet? What if the planet itself has become so inhabited that we start getting attacked by sentinels from space?
Exactly. Yeah, to wipe
You
us
know?
out, to keep with the lore.
So if you implemented those simple game mechanics, that would do a whole bunch of stuff. Number one, that would keep the action level high. Number
Mhm.
two, that would be potential droppable loot from killing sentinels. Number three, that would give us more diverse ways of utilizing currency that we collect in the game by maintaining and upkeeping our bases and outfitting them with defenses. It would really open up a lot of different gameplay.
Sean, are you watching? I just want to know, because the VOD will be available for you to watch anytime after this.
They've solved it.
It won't be long, and you can take all the notes you like. Just go to town, right? Just start jotting them down. This is good stuff.
It's not called No Man's Sky anymore. It's something else, but you should make it.
Yeah, it's called the No Mam's Sky. I'll never let that joke go. No Mam's Sky. Well, folks, I think we should close it up here. Super fantastic talk. For a first subcast, I don't know about y'all. I mean, I'm like the center post here, but I'll leave it to y'all to decide if this went well tonight. I think this was super cool. It felt great to just sort of get this out there, right? And just, I know the wait for Beyond has been exhausting, right? We've been what? We're on like month 3 or 4 now without any meaningful information for this game. You know what? I know it's tough, but I know, and this is gone by history's sake, that they're working hard and they're working on really cool stuff. And I can't think of a time that they haven't utterly impressed me with what they have to show after all that time, right? It is very real. It has always been very fruitful, the wait has been. So I have no reason to believe now that won't be true now, right? So until then, we have like the Cobra subcast, and I think I want to try to do this, once a week or twice a week, just to have us all sort of group together and talk about it and get and sort of just shoot the breeze about No Man's Sky. We are the best community there is, after all, right? I don't know about y'all, but I think so. So,
Yes, sir.
with all of that said and done, folks, if you have not subscribed yet, please do, and please hang out further, because I think I want to try to obviously cut today's subcast up and sort of put it up in sections for yours and everybody else's viewing pleasure, because we had a lot of great stuff to say tonight. And then, of course, if you would have me, I would absolutely love to have a regular subcast weekly or twice a week to just sort of shoot the breeze. I'm not much of a streamer. I've tried the whole No Man's Sky streaming thing. I'm more of a content creator. I like to just edit and sort of upload stuff. But this was new and very exciting for me, and I would kind of like to do this more often. What do you think?
No, this
This was
was
great, man.
Yeah, it's
I
good
love
to have
that.
all of you.
Listen, the community needs this right now. They need to hear someone's voice, people's voices, and need to hear you talking about it. And I needed this. I'm going to tell you, LZ, I'm so glad you did it, and I appreciate you for having me on, because I needed it today. After so much time without hearing anything, it's good to be able to talk to people. And yeah, awesome stuff. Keep it going.
Heck yeah, we
Yeah.
got to vent that hype, y'all.
Yeah, this was
Yep,
really cool.
yep.
I appreciate it. I'm not a content creator. I try, just I can't. But I love being on subcasts, and I love chatting with you guys. And I think the No Sky community is great. I hope to come back and visit with y'all.
Peaceful Gamer's still a punk, though, so that has.
Yeah, I'm still up. What's
He's
going
still
on?
awake.
I-
He made
I
it.
have been thoroughly entertained.
Wow, that's good to hear, and it's always good to have you, my brother from another mother. He is he's my fellow guy that I like to live
Nominatus.
vicariously. I live my non-weed smoking vicarious life in the United States of America, where it's clearly not legal. But
Yeah. Sorry about that.
folks, it's good to have y'all. Thank you for stopping by. I'll get some uploads going here throughout the rest of the week for our conversations tonight. Thank you for coming by, liking the channel, supporting, buy a t-shirt or something. And then, we're going to pick that up. I'd like to maybe do one later this week or the beginning of the week. Of course, unless something drops, right? And then, of course, you can count on myself, and other folks. We make it happen, right? We'll be here to talk about it. So
Mhm, mhm.
that is if you're not playing it, which I couldn't blame you for putting priority on that, honestly.
Hey, you can still watch YouTube and play No Man's Sky at the same time, guys. All right, just saying.
It's very possible. We are very background noise worthy, I think. So I think it's possible, right? Unless you got headphones on and you want to be immersed in the sky. And again, you can't be faulted for that. But y'all be good. Have fun. Stay safe. Vent your hype. Talk to us. Let us know. We'll do this again, guys. It was great. Good having every single one of you. And peace out. See y'all later.
right.
See you guys.
Bye.